Rams, the undisputed best team in the NFL now that the Saints have fallen off just ever so slightly. And with that comes a new Rams player that jumps into the forefront of the MVP conversation. This week, it's Aaron Donald, and a lot of talk about how defense is back now that the cold weather is all of a sudden making the forward pass obsolete. And so with that, we're going to discuss whether or not Aaron Donald is a real MVP candidate, a truly most valuable player in the NFL. Brought to you, of course, by MyBookie.ag. All right, Eric, let's start with this. Wins above replacement. Go through and say, okay, how many wins does this particular player actually afford you above what a replacement level player would? Doesn't look so good for Donald.
Yeah, Donald was an outlier a season ago defensively. He's even better, actually, with 4 weeks left this year than he was a season ago, and yet he's still not cracking, even the top 20, and it's because the first 16 guys are all quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have the most control over what happens on the football field, and there are many of them who are playing great football right now, and then there are many of them that are playing above replacement level. And so, while Donald is super impressive, super, valuable to his team, he's not even the most valuable player on the Rams.
Right, that would be
Jared Goff.
Oh, not Todd Gurley. Sorry. I was confusing touchdowns and actual value. The interesting thing about Donald is he's head and shoulders above anyone else in his position, right? Yep. He's got 84 pressures, the most by any interior lineman by almost double, and the most in the entire NFL. So it's hard because he's so above the rest of his position, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that are all doing really well, and so they're kind of clumped together, and that, I think, clouds our vision of the whole thing. Let's jump into the kind of minutia of it in a second here, but before we do that, quick reminder that no matter what you're doing any day of the week, even if it's not NFL, college is over, thank God, for a little bit. Even if it's not NFL football on a Sunday, no matter what you're watching, MyBookie.ag can make it more exciting. College basketball is now polluting the television airwaves, and so if you happen to stumble upon a college basketball game, even if it's midway through, MyBookie.ag can make it more exciting. They have in-game live betting, so you can adjust midway through. And you know what? No matter what it is, they will make it a more enjoyable experience. You can use promo code PFF to get a dollar-for-dollar match on your first deposit. It's really simple. You log in, use promo code PFF, and makes every sporting event more exciting. MyBookie.ag, you play, you win, you get paid. Okay, let's dig into some of the kind of underlying fundamentals of why a defensive interior player, as great as he is in Aaron Donald, is not going to be able to generate as much value as a quarterback will.
Yeah, I mean, even if you assume that Donald generates like a plus play as much as somebody like Jared Goff, when a quarterback, grades positively for us, he's generating over one expected point. Whereas for a defensive lineman, it's sort of more in that 0.25, 0.3 range. And so just simply at the rate perspective, it's far more valuable to generate positive grades in the passing game than it is to rush the passer. And that makes sense, right? If you get a pressure on quarterback, you can still see a completed pass. You can still see the guy run for a first down, so on and so forth. Whereas if a quarterback makes a good throw, generally speaking, it's going to be a positive play for the offense. And so you just see sort of, what Jared Goff, Pat Mahomes, Drew Brees, those guys doing is just simply more valuable play to play.
There's also the whole which causes wins more, which is directly more important to winning football games. And the tough thing is a quarterback dictates so much. So as great as a pass rusher is, there's only so much control they have over the game. Obviously, if they destroy their block and they get right in there and they cause a forced fumble and they pick it up and they score a touchdown, that's emblazoned in our mind. But that happens very rarely. Most of the time, the quarterback is able to get rid of the ball before that happens. They're able to slide protection, all these different things that can mitigate a pass rush, whereas the quarterback is sort of at the helm, at the top of the food chain in terms of determining what happens on a given play and therefore ultimately in a game whether you win or lose. So not taking anything away from Aaron Donald. He is the best player in the NFL. He is dominating his position, but best and value are very different, right? That's just something that we have to keep in mind when we talk about this, and it's hard to do, obviously, on social media.
Yeah, I mean, Donald is one of the most impressive players we've ever charted here at Pro Football Focus. That's a fact, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they win football games. He was, not nearly, he wasn't as impressive, back in 2014, 2015, 2016. but he was almost as good, and the Rams won, 7-4, those types of numbers of games. It really was when Jared Goff and Sean McVay got together that team really became a championship contender, and that's exactly what the numbers here say with respect to WAR.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher, we remember him fondly, as I'm sure the rest of the Rams do as well. Tune in next week to see which new Rams player jumps to the forefront of the MVP conversation. We'll be sure to sit there and tell you that, well,
my money's on Roger Saffold.
Maybe Jared Goff will actually get some love one of these days. He's playing really well. And hopefully by the end of the season, we've come around to realize that Sean McVay, the true most valuable asset that the Rams have.